Good afternoon. I'm Moria, your BEYA Stars and Stripes STEM Career Day Student Ambassador. Thank you for joining us, and to all the veterans watching, thank you for your service. Today, we'll talk with Colonel Alison Gonzalez from the U.S. Space Force about her inspiring STEM journey. Then, Angela Seabrooks will discuss her college experiences and what students need to know as they move toward the next step in their education. As a recent person who finished the first semester of college, that will be very useful, and I hope that's useful to you as well. And happy holidays to everyone. Over to you, Savannah.
Hi, everyone. Before we get into the interview with Colonel Gonzalez, my name is Savannah, and I am one of the BEYA ambassadors. And I just wanted to share a little bit about myself with you guys. So, I am in my junior year of high school currently, and I'm looking forward to the holidays and finishing the semester up. So, I hope that was inspiring to everyone. Anyways, into the interview. Hello, Colonel Gonzalez, and thank you for being on our show.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Savannah, for having me.
Of course. Please tell us about your journey to joining the Space Force.
Sure. It's long and we don't have time, but I am born in Minneapolis, Minnesota, born and raised there. Got sick of the snow. And so I am a proud graduate of Howard University in Washington, D.C. And while at Howard, I studied biochemistry and physics and have always loved math, loved STEM and engineering. But like many, I had to figure out a way to pay for college. And at the time, I discovered ROTC, which is a program where you can continue your education. And then when you graduate, you have a commitment into the military. And at that time, it was 4 years. And so joined ROTC. They paid for my school, and I commissioned into the Air Force, and I'm a career space operations officer and satellite operations, doing all facets with that. We're working satellite operations, engineering, program management. I've been blessed to work in the White House and on Capitol Hill. And in 2020, I had the blessing and opportunity to commission into our nation's newest military service dedicated to the protection and defense of the space domain, which is amazing. And that is the Space Force. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of things. It all sounds amazing. So, I have a couple questions for you if you don't mind.
Of course.
So, can you tell us more about the requirements that you had to do in order to become a part of the Space Force?
No, absolutely. So, as mentioned before, all space operations, whether if it's rocket launches into space, satellite operations, radar operations, those all were in the Air Force previously. So if we did that in the Air Force, we had the opportunity to automatically join into the Space Force on active duty. But if you're looking to come in to the military to do space operations like what I do, there's a couple of different venues. You can join the Reserve Officer Training Corps through your college or university, which is a phenomenal program, and Space Force is absolutely a part of many of those detachments that are joined with the Air Force. Or you can join through the Officer Training School, which is another commissioning source to becoming an officer. Or you can now enlist, just like any other service, into basic military training and be involved in one of our specialty fields, which is not just space operations, but also cyber, information, IT, information technology. There's acquisitions, program management, intelligence officers. So there's many different ways and avenues to get into the Space Force, whether if you want to join as an officer such as myself, or enlisted, or even on the civilian side. There's many, many, many opportunities.
Oh, wow. That's a lot. Since that's a lot of things that you could choose from, how did you find out that you wanted to be or have you always, let me rephrase, have you always wanted to be in the Space Force or something else?
So it's really funny. No, I went to college because I went into college as a pre-med student. I wanted to be a doctor and do all things women's health, right? And I just, but my path, it's so funny, it just kind of guided me into the military where I was able to do STEM related fields and leverage my love for math and technology and aeronautics. And I was selected into the space operations field. And from there, I've just been having so much fun doing that. And I never knew that opportunity was there until that just came about and I stumbled into it and really fell in love with that. So, as a biology, chemistry, and physics background, I was able to go into space operations that way.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Space Force is fairly new, so would you say that it's helpful to understand the mission of the U.S. Air Force? No, Space Force.
Yeah, no, I get that question all the time. So when you really think of it, we are really no different than any other service. You look at the Air Force, their job is to protect and defend the air domain via, their various flying aircraft and others. The Navy protects our land forces. The Navy protects the oceans and seas. And because of what we've seen with nations trying to use the space domain for nefarious purposes, there was a need going way back into even the Reagan administration into the 1980s. And like, hey, we have satellites up here. We've had satellites up there since the 1950s with Sputnik. And over the years, that technology is involved and the use for space has evolved. And there's a need of protecting and defending that. Because look at space, look at everything that's there. You GPS that controls everything from Google Maps to Waze to gas pumps to the national banking system to the gas pipelines, various communication satellites the military uses, just everything, and communications, weather satellites. So we use space in every facet of our American life, and there's a need to defend and protect that, just like any other domain.
Wow. So do you think, would you think a couple years ago, would you have thought that the Space Force would become so important and to control and protect so many things?
Actually, because I've been ingrained in it for so many years, yes. But having others and having amazing high school and college students such as yourself to the American public seeing that importance, I never thought that. And it's amazing to have these platforms to talk about it and to promote that and to educate folks on that. So I've always thought of the importance, but it's amazing now that a lot of other people are seeing that importance, and especially women and people of color, seeing that importance and getting involved into STEM career fields to not just do military space operations, but all other types of space operations, such as NASA and other industry partners.
Definitely. This was definitely eye-opening to me as well, because I personally didn't know that the Space Force was that big and protected so many things that we use today. So that was very eye-opening as well. What advice would you give for high school students who are preparing for college?
Oh man, that's such a loaded question, and I don't think we have that much time, but I'll try and make it quick. So first and foremost, what I tell people, anyone, is it's okay to have a plan. Have a plan and have a plan to the plan and have a plan to that plan and have many backup plans and not being afraid to execute it. Also, what I tell people is that listen to yourself, and there's nothing wrong with dreaming big and being realistic and building that work ethic now and learning to overcome adversity, whether if that's a subject that's hard to you or conflict with friends or anything personal happening with relationships, learning ways to help to effectively and being healthy and overcoming that adversity, because that's never going to stop. And my final advice for anyone in high school or college, I always tell people, do it afraid. right? We never go into our purpose. We never achieve our goals easily. It's never a smooth sailing, right? Do it afraid. You're going to be afraid in applying for that school. You're going to be afraid applying for that program or sitting at a table where you feel like, oh my gosh, I am the only woman. I am the only Black woman, and I'm the only woman of color, what have you. But you sit at that table and know that you belong, and you do it afraid and show them why you're there. Because it'll never get easy, but it will get easier when you have mechanisms to take care of yourself, and also with practice and repetition.
Yes, that is great advice. Definitely. I could use that advice now as well.
Trust me, I do it often, and I got to tell myself repeatedly, and this is just advice from years of application.
Oh, wow. That's awesome, honestly. Who was the most helpful in your life when problems arose?
Ooh, another great question. Girl, asking a lot of these great questions. I love it. No, well, first, I have an amazing support system behind the scenes at home, starting with my parents, my siblings, cousins, friends. That has always been there for me through my life. And I've been very blessed with that, and realizing not everyone is. But also through my career, never really planning on moving up and moving ahead. I just always wanted to have fun. I've found mentors and used forums such as BEYA to find mentors and people who are doing cool things I aspire to, and just literally went up to them, again, doing it afraid, did not knowing these people. Hey, I'm really interested in this. How did you get there? And what advice can you give me? And just getting those mentors along the way throughout my career, and talking with them and learning more about them as people and also as professionals, and just being blessed to have that as well. So it's important to have a network of people in your field and your career that you're interested in to help you guide through that. But it's also just as important, if not more so, to find a network or a community, I should say, outside of that. So you can kind of let your hair down and be Savannah and and figuring it out.
Yeah, that's so true. Because when you go through life, you need people to guide you and to answer questions, because everything's not going to be perfect. So.
No, absolutely. And we may think we have the right answers or what right looks like, but it's essential to get different points of view. But ultimately the decision is yours, but at least you educate yourself a little bit more to help you guide along whatever path you decide to go down.
Yeah. What are some good habits that you can start as a student to help yourself succeed in your job? You did list one before, by saying a good work ethic, but what else?
I think it's also, I think it is work ethic for sure, but it's also habits are learn balance. That is what I tell my folks when I was commanding, and even today in my job in the Pentagon, is learning how to self-care, but also develop a ferocious work ethic. I mean, you have to put in the work and build in the study habits. Again, identifying ways to overcome areas that challenge you academically and personally. Right. And then also, more importantly, and that's reaching out to mentors, studying extra, using online platforms, again, forums such as BEYA and NSBE that I used also while at Howard. But then also identifying ways, as I said before, to take care of yourself, because you have to have balance or harmony with that. And that's either working out, meditating, being with friends, taking naps. As a mom, I don't take naps. Taking naps and just being around people who can lift you up and figure out how you recharge your battery. With some, that may be with a group of friends partying, and others, it just may be at home watching Netflix. I'm finding that and doing that is just as important as working your butt off at all hours of the night.
Okay, so we have a question from the audience.
Ooh,
and that is, growing up during the era of Star Wars and Star Trek makes the Space Force seem surreal. What are some of the advanced technologies students can look forward to in the Space Force?
Oh, I promised I wouldn't nerd out, but I can. Thank you. So, as I mentioned before, cyber. So I'll hit on some space-based technologies, but also I want to hit on some other technologies. So real quick, quantum, hello, 5G, computing, all of these areas are absolutely essential. I am a big fan of artificial intelligence and figuring out how we can use that to better operate our satellites and other platforms. As I said before, quantum computing, quantum tech, and getting into those areas are just absolutely essential, because that's how we operate and build more efficient space platforms on orbit and space, but also how we control them from the ground. Also, getting into the cyber operations arena and understanding that mechanism, more importantly, defending our cyber networks, is just as essential to protecting our satellite assets as well. So those areas are absolutely essential in the Space Force and what we are looking to promote, recruit, and how we train our folks. Great question. I had to hold myself back, but thank you.
Wow, that was so much information, but it was so useful. So thank you. The last question I'm going to ask for today is, what challenges have you experienced in your career?
Okay. Keep asking these questions I can go on for an hour about. So with any STEM dominated or STEM centric field, it's male dominated and not many women of color in there. And that brings about challenges of its own and having to overcome, especially as you go into areas of motherhood and getting married, if you choose to do that, thereon and thereforth. But what I continue to say is, you will never, I told myself a couple things, despite those challenges of misogyny, racism, and other things that are anywhere in society, you have to figure out ways to communicate effectively, to educate efficiently, and then also continue to leverage that no joke work ethic and listening to yourself and affirming yourself on why you deserve to be there, how you worked your butt off to get there. And while I'm not going to prove to you while I'm here, I am going to show why I am here. So you absolutely need to do that, because those will never go away. Those challenges will always be there, but it's figuring out ways to lift yourself up, finding community who can lift you up, and then also putting in the work to get what you need to do to prove yourself and why you need to be there.
Definitely. That was so inspirational. Thank you.
No, thank you for these questions. Savannah's awesome.
Of course. It was wonderful having you on the show today, Colonel Gonzalez. It has been a pleasure talking to you. Now we'll hear more from Moria.
Hello. Thank you for sharing your journey with us, Colonel Gonzalez. We appreciate your time and your willingness to share your insights. Now, before we learn about a past STEM inventor, here's a word from our sponsor, Lockheed Martin.
I work at Lockheed Martin as a cybersecurity systems engineer, and I've been at Lockheed for 19 years. The role of cybersecurity engineering has a tremendous impact on the mission to deliver secure systems to our customers. I have 3 children. My kids are the center of my universe. I would not be able to continue working effectively as a working parent if it had not been for the flexibility in our work schedule and the flexibility of our leaders to help me exercise a flexible work schedule. One of the reasons why I've been at Lockheed Martin for 19 years is because I think the culture and the values that we demonstrate really reflect my own personal values. Performing with excellence, acting with integrity, those are steadfast values that we talk about day to day. I have seen great changes in the diversity within our company. 19 years ago, there weren't a whole lot of women in leadership, so the few that we had were highly coveted. Today, I'm proud to say that we see quite a few women in leadership roles. The advice that I would provide to young women and girls who are interested in STEM is go for it. You can do it. Don't let anyone stop you.
It was eye-opening learning about Colonel Gonzalez's accomplishments. Her story is inspiring to the students currently beginning their careers. Now, I'd like to take you on a little STEM journey through the world of inventions. This month, we feature the inventor of the seismograph, Chung Hung. Chung Hung is known for many inventions in China that have changed the world as we know it today. Chung Hung was an astronomer, mathematician, inventor, geographer, cartographer, artist, poet, statesman, and literary scholar all the way back in 78 to 139 AD. He grew up in Nanyang, Henan province in China and came from a well-known but not very wealthy family. After his grandfather died, he was left to care for his grandmother and mother until he left home at 17 to pursue his studies. He later became the inventor of the machine, whose name translates to an instrument for measuring the winds and the movements of Earth. This was a much-needed invention in the earthquake-prone country of China. This machine is described as an embroidered, cylindrical shaped mechanism that had 8 dragon heads looping the upper circumference of each of them, having a ball in their mouths. On the bottom, there were 8 frogs under each dragon head that would catch the ball and make a noise if an earthquake occurred. This invention was also able to help citizens in the city of Luoyang years later when an earthquake struck 1,000 miles away in what is known as Gansu province. Though the people in this area could not feel an earthquake, the seismograph was able to help them detect that the earthquake had struck somewhere to the west. Humans today are not accurately able to predict many natural disasters, such as earthquakes and hurricanes, but because of the inventions like these, we have advanced in our ways of detecting, recording, and measuring these things so we can prepare and react in the best way possible. This inventor is the embodiment of ingenuity. Next month, we will share another inventor who pursued her dreams to revolutionize energy usage in the world. Students, we hope all of you are enjoying learning more about STEM careers at today's BEYA Stars and Stripes STEM Career Day, streamed live from STEM City, USA. Let's take a quick commercial break to learn more about the STEM City, USA.
What if you could build your own city? A place where every child can find nurturing people to help them achieve their full potential. A place where every adult can access job training support. Where health education is abundant. Where social justice ruled the land. a place without limitations. Welcome. You have arrived at STEM City, USA. It is what every city should be, a safe and trusted community where you find people and resources to help you become everything you are and beyond. STEM City is unlike anything you have ever experienced. It is a digital twin of the world around you, only better. STEM City is about energy and soul renewal. It is more than a digital world. You can almost feel the power of live cultural events, music, and theater. STEM City promises a better future for children with caring mentors and hands-on activities with dedicated tutors to support our youth. STEM City is your passport to a healthy lifestyle with weekly events addressing our community's many issues. STEM City is your financial well-being with helpful information on wealth management, career advancement, job training, and so much more. STEM City is the community you deserve. It is the city where your dreams can come true. STEM City USA, a place in the sky that is accessible to all who reach for the stars.
That was STEM City USA, our 2D metaverse. Would you like to join us in building the metaverse by participating in the STEM City USA scavenger hunt? Our scavenger hunt is where you will explore the metaverse through clues and careful observation. In February at the BEYA Career Carnival in Baltimore, Maryland, you can participate in person by exploring booths and collecting clues to win prizes and learn more about STEM City USA. Last month, we shared more about the upcoming AI-powered library, Colin AI, that will be opened in STEM City USA this month. Don't forget to visit stemcityusa.com and enter the Education and Discovery building. Then enter the library and sign up for your own digital library card. In February, we are broadcasting from the Becoming Everything You Are STEM conference in Baltimore, Maryland. Pre-college students will get to experience metaverse technology, AR, XR, VR, iRacing, esports, drone building, workshops, and more. Make sure you tune in to see the latest technology. Are you thinking about going to college when you finish high school? How do you decide which college is best for you and your goals? Joining us today is Angela Seabrooks to discuss important factors when deciding which path is right for you and what to look for in a school. Welcome, Angela.
Hi everyone, how are you?
Angela, I recently chose my college, and I'll talk to you about the process later, but we want you to weigh in. How did you choose the right college for you?
Sure, and I actually have a presentation ready for you guys, and of course I'm going to show what I have to show, but if you guys have any, questions after, please feel free to ask. So this is my presentation for Career Day. As Maria said, my name is Anjali Seabrooks. I'm currently a senior at New Jersey Institute of Technology, which is in Newark, New Jersey. My major is mechanical engineering technology with a minor in psychology. And for my career, I'm looking for an occupation in the engineering industry. Before we get into the tips and tricks of choosing the correct college for you, I'm just going to give a little bit of my background of STEM in college. So the reason why I chose to pursue STEM in my college career is because of my background in high school. I went to a technical high school. My major was mechatronics and engineering. So of course, going through those 4 years of high school, I realized that I wanted to keep pursuing mechanical engineering. And so, that's why I chose NJIT. It was a really great college, a lot of great opportunities, especially with STEM. And, my journey through college so far has been very interesting, but I honestly would not change anything. It helped me a lot, helped me learn a lot, character development, things like that. So, I would say it was a very great experience, and I'm very, very happy to be here today to tell you guys how to choose your college. So on the next slide, My involvement on campus, because I can't stress this enough, it is very, very important to be involved on campus. Some organizations I'm involved on campus is EOP, which is the Educational Opportunity Program. Not only am I a student of EOP, but I'm also a coordinator. So I coordinate, a group of scholarship students, and that has been a very, very great opportunity. I'm also a member of SOMA, the Society of Musical Arts. As well as a member, I've served on the executive board for 2 years. I was the public relations officer as well as the event coordinator. I am part of NSBE, the National Society of Black Engineers. I'm a member, and I'm also on the telecommunications committee. As you guys can tell, I'm very involved. I'm also working this semester or this year alone in OGI, which is the Office of Global Initiatives. And I'm the student ambassador for study abroad. So I help students choose their study abroad program, how long they would like to go for, and what they want to study in a new country or a different institution. And we also go into research, GSLSAM, which is Louis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation. I was a student researcher last summer. I did research under a professor with drone technology and robotics, and I can't stress enough how cool that was, honestly. And of course, my other involvement on campus is, going to different clubs and organizations, talking to different people, going to different events, which I also feel that is very important for students to pay attention to. Okay, so saying that, this is the tips and tricks when choosing a college and some things that I kept in mind. When choosing a college, you want to know if you want to live on or off campus. And this also includes the distance from home. So I say this because not only is this involved in, paying for college and, things like that, but some students will feel that they live on campus that's better for them. They're able to have communications with different students or different opportunities, things like that. But no issue if you want to live off campus too, especially if the institution is close to home. So it really does depend on the student and, what they would like to do, which goes into the next bullet point. Location does matter. When choosing a college, you want to know where you'll be going. You'll be comfortable, be able to move around the area, whether, that's public transportation, that's bus, at least in my case, light rail. It's also, it's also good to keep in mind that if you are able to walk around the area, so is it possible to, walk to a grocery store or a bookstore or even walk around campus, even, if it's a Saturday or Sunday. I would say those are some things to also keep in mind. Find your community. As I mentioned before, it is very important to get involved on campus. A lot of people don't think so, but once you're involved on campus, you're more prone to opportunities and things that are available to you. So, join clubs and organizations to meet other students and gain some of these opportunities. Along with that, finding your community also can mean diversity wise. Me personally, I went to a high school and a middle school that didn't really have a lot of people like me. So I went to NJIT and I was able to find a Black community on campus, and that made me feel, much more happy, much more comfortable. So in terms of community, I don't mean just, organizations, professionalism, things like that. But if you would also like to find a community, if you're like me, of the Black community, which I thought was very important, I think that's also a very good factor. When choosing a major, make sure that is something that you want to do in the future. And I say that because some freshmen coming into college, they choose a major where, their parents want them to do, or that they feel peer pressure to do, things like that. And, it's definitely important to keep in mind that you want to do something that'll make you happy, something that you can grow with yourself in the future. And, it's okay if you go through freshman year and you realize, civil engineering isn't my thing, but you can still switch your major later on. And the earlier that you switch your major, the better, just in terms of, course equivalencies and things like that. And if you're worried about, taking out loans to pay for school, scholarships are an option. I definitely have been down that route before. I've applied to many out of school scholarships, and I was able to, bring them back to my school and help me pay for my bill. So I think that's, also important to keep in mind. And of course, when choosing a college, of course, we're all going to have, our favorite or our dream school, but it's also to keep in mind, how are you going to pay for this dream school, or how are you going to pay for, your top 3 schools. So something to also keep in mind is your financial aid package, because that is very important. And when choosing your, filling out your financial aid, which, you'll need your parents' help to do that, of course. There are also things to keep in mind that they'll ask questions like, for example, do you want to be part of the EOP program? Would you like to be eligible for work study? And work study is pretty much they give you a job on campus and a specific amount of money that they can, pay you throughout the semester, and you can either use that to pay off your bill, or you can just use that to have money in your pocket, which is also a great idea. Especially if you're living away from home and, you don't want to ask your parents all the time for money. It's really a great opportunity to have that work experience, but also to, get around campus and meet different people. So the next slide, which is continuing with the tips and tricks, of course. If you're interested in study abroad, make sure that your college offers that. I was very, very interested in studying abroad in high school. That was something I've always wanted to do. So, of course, when I came into college, I wanted to do that, but, that's when COVID hit. So, it took a little bit for me to, complete that goal, but, I still did it. And of course, it's a very great opportunity for students to study abroad, whether it's in a different country or even if it's in a different state, different, study abroad opportunities, things like that. This also includes research. Does the campus or does the institution that you want to go to offer research opportunities, things like that? You also want to look into the academic and career support that the institution offers. Not a lot of students know about this, and that's totally okay. When looking into academic and career services, right, you want to make sure that, if you're having trouble, is there a tutoring center for math, English, all the sciences, things like that. So that's some things that you want to keep in mind in terms of academics. Those are just examples. And then career, is there a career development services? Like on my campus, we do have an office where, students can go get their resumes checked, even have mock interviews. So that's something to also keep in mind, especially if you want to you want to get a little head start on your career. Safety. Safety is a top priority when going to college. Is your college of choice in a safe area? Like I mentioned before, is your college in the middle of nowhere? Like I said, there's a whole bunch of colleges, thousands and thousands of colleges across the country. You want to make sure that you're in an area where not only is it safe, but are you able to move around? Are you able to get to a hospital if you need to? Are you able to see a doctor? Things like that. Walk-in centers. Networking with alumni is a great opportunity. I also recommend to see if your college has an alumni association. And I say this because alumni associations can also, help students get, internships, full-time jobs. They also will ask alumni to come in and talk to students about specific things. So those things are, keep that in mind as well. And on-campus facilities and amenities. So this has to do, with res life, which, dorming halls, things like that, dining halls, where are you going to eat on campus, what types of, some campuses will have chains, fast food chains like Taco Bell, Chick-fil-A, like are those available on campus? And of course, activities. So on my campus, we have something called the WEC, and it's the Wellness and Events Center, where it offers a gym, it has a pool, it has a basketball court, it has a track inside. So those are some things that you want to keep in mind. Like, of course, especially if you're living on campus away from home, are you going to have something to do when you're bored or you need to, release some stress, things like that. And I would say my last advice, at least for this PowerPoint, is to, make college is what you make of it. So, of course you can get advice and things that you hear from different people, but at the end of the day, it really does depend on you, what you want to do, whether you want to get involved, meet different people, meet different students from different backgrounds, things like that. So it really is up to you and what you make of it. And college, I would say, it can be very challenging, but if you have the right attitude, if you have the right advice, if you have the right resources, then you can definitely get through college. And that was my slides. And if you guys have any questions, I'm definitely here to answer for you.
Hi, Angela. So I have a few questions, just like delving into some of those points that you made. You have a very nice PowerPoint presentation, by the way.
Thank you so much.
So my first question is like adjusting to life away from home. I feel like nobody really talks about that. So what do you think about that? Like, what is it like as a freshman, like just moving out of their parents' home and
Right.
that whole adjustment process?
So I would say that, adjusting from home is different from everyone. Of course, at least for me, I was like, oh, freedom. But of course, I miss my family at home. So sometimes I'd be stressed about what's going on at home. Sometimes it would mess with my little academics a little bit. But it is important to keep in mind that, it is also an opportunity to kind of grow away from the nest, right? Of course, we all don't want to live with our parents forever. Not saying that's bad, but it is a very good opportunity to kind of have that, even if you just dorm on campus for freshman year or even a semester. It's just a really great opportunity to, meet new people, learn to be independent, right? At least from what my mother has always taught me, to be independent, but also to ask for help when I need it. So when adjusting, time away from home, especially if you're living on campus and you're a freshman, I've seen freshmen that, are introverted, things like that. Even if you're, like me, I was an extroverted person and my roommate at the time was introverted. So, I, tried to make her feel comfortable, like, hey, is there something you would like to do that you want to do together, things like that. I would say, there's tons of ways to, adjust from home, things like that. But I would say try to keep a clear mind. And of course, with dorming, you don't know who you're going to run into sometimes as a roommate. So sometimes that can be a little bit challenging. But, once you have that communication, that clear communication with your roommate or your suite mates, it can become just a little bit easier. Of course, it takes some time, of course. But I would say adjusting from home can be different for everyone, but it is what you make of it. I would say that.
That makes sense. That's some pretty good advice. Um, Another question. So what's the size of your school? Is it big or is it small? And is it beneficial to go to a large school, or what are the advantages of like a smaller school? Like, what do you?
Right. So my school, I want to say we have about 8 to 10,000 students, maybe like a little bit bigger than that. So I would say we're technically a small school, but we're also kind of maybe medium sized. We are a very commuter based school, so we do have a lot of commuters, but we do also have a lot of students that live on campus, whether they're in state, out of state, international students. So I would say the size of the college really does depend on you, the person who is applying to that college. Do you feel like you'd thrive well in a smaller environment where you kind of get to know more people, get to, have that close knit community? Or would you rather want a large institution where you can kind of roam around? So I know Princeton is actually it's a pretty large institution. I've been there before. Rutgers, there's different locations for that. So it really does depend what you want to do there. But I would say the size of the location also depends on the applicant and where they would feel the most comfortable. But I would say I'm happy with my size. I would say this is a pretty good size here.
Yeah, you get the best of both worlds.
Right.
Does your school have is it considered a party school? Do you have a whole lot of like student activities, student life there?
Right. So NJIT isn't considered a party school, but we do have Greek life. We have students in organizations, professional Greeks. So we do have that. We actually have Rutgers Newark across the street, which is sometimes considered a party school. But since Rutgers Newark, well, we have 3 colleges in the area. We have Essex County College, Rutgers Newark, and NJIT. So we get a mix of students from everywhere. But I would say the parties here can really depend on the day. It can really depend on the Greeks that are holding it and where they are located. But sometimes it's a hit or miss. But I would say most of the students here focus on academics, but there is that opportunity to go to parties and things like that. So.
Do commuters get to have like that get to have some of that experience?
So it does depend on the commuter. You have some commuters that, will come kind of plan their day before, like, okay, I have class at this time and I'm going to leave at this time, especially before traffic hits. But you also have some commuters that are kind of open to staying longer if they have to, especially if they want to get involved, whether it's clubs, organizations, parties. So it really does depend on the commuter. And I know sometimes commuters have like a commute up to 1 hour, maybe even longer than that. So yeah, it really does depend on the commuter and how they plan their day and things like that. I would say that also depends. These are great questions, by the way. These are great questions.
Thank you. Okay, so financial aid.
Mhm.
What are the maximum loans that you can take out effectively? Does your major support the size of the loan?
Right. So in terms of financial aid and loans, at least here, because I'm not really sure how other colleges do it, but here, when filling out your financial aid, they give you the option for federal loans. So that's the unsubsidized loan and that's the subsidized loan. And those are loans that, which I also recommend, get federal loans, not private loans. Private loans, you have to pay them back right away. So even, if you take it out and you pay your bill, you have to pay it back right away. As to where federal loans, they actually give you an amount of time to, get through college. And then after you graduate college, that's when they'll implement like a payment plan for you to pay back that money. Financial aid controls, um, not actually controls, but they get the information from your application, and that's how they plan out how much money you'll get in your loan, things like that. Um, the majors don't control that, but some departments can offer scholarships. So if that answers your question.
It does. Thank you. Um, okay. And is your school considered safe?
Yes. Off the top of my head, honestly, we have a public safety, which is on campus, like, security, things like that. They're pretty on top of making sure that, everybody's safe on campus. They roam around in like their cars and their little cars, like I can't even say cars. They're like carts, but it's so hard to explain. But yeah, they're always available. There's
The little
usually,
go-kart?
yeah, they're like little go-karts. They're like electric. So it's like kind of hard to explain, but just, I don't know.
They
But they're
just
really
drive
cute.
around campus, just
Right. So,
provide.
yeah, but we do have public safety on campus. So it's not like, um, you can't find public safety. You can contact public safety if possible, whether it's like, Newark Penn Station is not too far from campus. So if it's late at night, you can actually call public safety and they will come and pick you up as long as, you tell them where you are, things like that. So yeah, I would say the safety on campus is pretty good. I would say it's pretty good. I never ran into any issues on campus.
What about grad school? Can you continue on to graduate school at the same university, or do you need to go to a new school?
So we do have graduate programs here at NJIT. It really does depend, what graduate program you're looking into. We have, MBA, we have Masters of Engineering, we have Engineering Management. We have on like the liberal arts side, we have pretty sure we have a Masters of Architecture. Well, that's still not, but let's say Law, Technology, and Culture. We also have that as well. So yeah, my school specifically, we do offer graduate programs. Some students will continue here at NJIT because that's where they went for their undergrad, but there is also an opportunity to apply to other schools as well. So even though you go to NJIT for your undergrad, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's mandatory for you to continue your graduate degree at NJIT. You're free to choose, whatever other institution that you would like to go to.
Does it go up to a doctorate?
Yes, we do. We go undergraduate, graduate, doctorate. I think we also offer some certificates as well. I'm just trying to answer off the top of my head, so I'm really, really sorry if I'm not answering this correctly. But
You're doing good.
if you are interested, you can also look at our website, njit.edu, and there's like a little tab where you can see the academics and things like that. But yes, we do offer up to doctorate as well.
Oh, that's nice. Um, so, finals weeks just passed, at
Right.
least for me. Do you have any tips for finals? Like I know like
Ooh.
it's so hectic finals week.
Right. So final season, I'm not gonna lie, it can be pretty brutal, very brutal, especially with the projects and the essays and the tests, and the list goes on. Some tips I would give for finals is definitely get enough rest. Rest is very important. You can't do your work if you don't get rest. And I know that's easier said than done because I'll be up at 3, 4 in the morning sometimes. Um, Also, stay hydrated. Of course, it's okay to drink coffee and energy drinks, but if you're not drinking water, that can kind of mess up your system a little bit, dehydrate you, right? Um, Stay focused. I know it's easier said than done, but even if you like to work in a group, make sure that you're all staying on task. You guys have your, like 15, 30-minute breaks, things like that. Even if you'd like to study by yourself, that's totally fine too. But just make sure that you're doing those things, staying on task, doing what you have to do, getting enough rest. I would say if you need help with studying, reach out to your classmates or even reach out to the professor. Sometimes professors will be available during final season because they understand that their class may be hard or some of the material may be hard to understand. So yeah, I would say, and one more thing, of course, try your best. Don't overthink it. It's really easy to fall into that pit of like, oh, well, what if I fail and things like that. But as long as you do the best that you can, things like that, and the professor does see your work ethic, it will all work out in the end. So that's something I would say, some tips.
That's some pretty solid advice. Thank you so much for joining us today, Angela.
Of course.
Now we'll hear from Lieutenant General Bruce Crawford, one of the founders of Career Day, with some words of wisdom. Over to you, Lieutenant General.
All right, thank you. Thanks so much, Maria, and to everyone. So very significant that we are wrapping up yet another successful year. As this will be the last one of these for this particular year. But hats off to the team for just an impactful series of conversations on the great and very important subject of STEM. So as I start to think about what makes our country great, and I think about our competitive advantage, one of the things that always comes to mind is that our future competitive advantage as a nation, it's always going to be heavily influenced by our willingness to continue to invest in our next greatest generation. In this particular case, it's investing in the understanding and the integration of STEM with our next greatest generation of leaders. I think there are going to be many challenges in life, and you heard about some of them today from our speakers, but I've always felt like the great equalizer when it comes to being successful, the great equalizer has always been awareness that leads to opportunity. So in terms of information sharing and creating some awareness today, you heard an amazing discussion about the importance of space from a technology perspective to our future success. From Colonel Alison Gonzalez. You heard also about a little bit more about the space domain, but also the significance of women of color taking an interest in STEM and space. When it came to some of the advice, I was sitting here smiling because I heard things like have a plan, but don't be afraid to do it afraid. That was really cool. You heard words of wisdom that said, look, dream big. They talked also about the importance of mentorship and attributes that you're going to need in life to be successful, like having a strong work ethic, but at the same time, and one of my favorites is the importance of balance, that's just as important as having a strong work ethic. So until next time, a couple of things that I ask everyone to think about, and I call them the 3 B's. First of all, be confident in who you are and that you belong. The second B is be intellectually curious about the world. And then finally, be passionate about following your dreams. And so with that said, again, another really impactful year. It has been amazing and inspiring. And so with that said, back over to you, Savannah.
Thank you so much. Are you in touch? Visit mystemcity.com and join the In Touch community. We have our own social media sharing app, and we would want you to join so you can stay in touch with the latest STEM City USA news, BEYA events, exciting activities with our STEM City USA partners, and career activities. Visit mystemcity.com and join today. On to you, Moria. Moria, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Okay. Back to what I was saying. Thank you to all who joined us for Career Day. Thank you to our Career Day speakers, Colonel Alison Gonzalez and Angela Seabrooks, for joining us today. Remember to visit STEMcityUSA.com for more BEYA STEM Career Day segments. We would now like to give a very special thanks to our BEYA Career Day sponsor, Lockheed Martin. They're known for their groundbreaking work in aerospace, arms, defense, information security, and technology around the world. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel and join us for the next Career Day on January 13th, 2024. See you next year.
Every day at Lockheed Martin, we are creating the future. When did I decide to become an engineer? Where I grew up in my village, we had a lot of interaction with nature. So I was always fascinated by the flight of the hummingbird. Seeing this marvelous aerodynamics of the hummingbird gave me this general idea that I wanted to be working on the ability to control things that flew. I've had this long running curiosity, I still do today, of asking the question, why is this the way it is? Are there ways to improve what it does? And in fact, those are the same questions we ask every day at Lockheed Martin. That's why my colleagues come to work saying, this is great, we've done all these great things, we've built all these great systems, how could we make it better? And how could we make it better together? Lockheed Martin's engineers and scientists are at the forefront of innovation. Everything from AI and machine learning to hypersonics to directed energy. Individually, all these are really critical capabilities that we need to develop. To actually deliver something ahead of ready to our customers, it takes pulling these pieces together into an overall mission capability. What we are doing here matters to our nation, to our nation's security.